While on an airplane, a man realizes he's trapped inside a flying coffin as the podcast he's listening to reveals that his plane is about to crash, and there will clearly be no survivors. The story begins with a journalist, Justin Sanderson, at an airport, getting ready to board his plane. He starts looking for a magazine when he and another man, Joe, reach for the same one. Justin tells him he can have it, but then Joe realizes who Justin really is, and that he's actually the author of the magazine. He tells him he's a fan and asks him to sign it. Before boarding the plane, Justin calls his wife and tells her some weird facts about his flight. The flight number is 10:15, and its takeoff time is 10:15, just like today's date, October 15th. Minutes later, Justin boards the plane and takes his seat. There, he finds an MP3 device. On it is a podcast titled The Tragic Mystery of Flight 1015, enough to send chills down Justin's spine. He quickly puts on the headphones and plays the podcast. The narrator begins the story, saying all the passengers were buckled up, and the flight attendants began their safety demonstration, while rain was already pouring down at Dallas International Airport. But little do the passengers know that in less than an hour, their plane will disappear from flight control radar, never to be heard of again. There were other aviation mysteries explored on that podcast, but what makes Flight 1015 unique is the number of unusual details surrounding its disappearance, starting with the captain, Donner. Justin quickly pauses the MP3 player and realizes that the captain's name is indeed Captain Donner. He then asks the man sitting next to him to listen to the podcast, explaining that it clearly says their plane will disappear. But the guy is worried about hygiene when it comes to wearing the same headphones, so he gets up and goes to find another seat. Justin continues listening to the podcast, which clearly states that at 10:21, the flight crew reported that a bird struck the engine. He just can't bear the coincidence anymore, so he panics, runs to the bathroom, and locks himself inside. He takes a couple of minutes to calm down, and assures himself that this is impossible and that he's just tripping. Then, he returns to his seat, where he non-stop tries to call the flight attendant. Once the man approaches him, Justin asks if they just hit a bird. The man simply tells him that they're flying at an altitude where there are no more birds. That seems to calm him down a bit. But then Joe appears behind him, saying that it was a bird, and that he saw it too. Joe reveals that he used to be a pilot and worked with this crew before, telling Justin they're good, but they'll never give too much information. Justin continues listening to the podcast, where he finds out that the last words the pilot said were, "Good night, New York," and that the plane went missing at 11:15 p.m. At that exact moment, the pilot informs everyone that the storm is developing a bit faster than expected, preparing them for some strong turbulence. As the podcast tells him that they have zero information about what could have happened to Flight 1015, Justin starts roaming the plane, looking for clues, writing down everything he notices about the passengers, pilots, and flight attendants. He then notices two people watching a game on their phone and gently asks them to turn it off. But they argue, thinking he's a racist, and even the flight crew tries to calm him down, telling him to go back to his seat. Next, the podcast informs him about one infamous individual who is on board, a Russian citizen named Igor Orlov. Igor is in witness protection and was taking Flight 1015 in order to testify against the Russian mafia, raising the question of whether it's possible the flight was targeted just to prevent him from testifying. Justin then learns that a U.S. air marshal is also present on the plane, possibly there to protect the witness. With that information, Justin goes to a flight attendant and tells her that he urgently needs to speak to the air marshal. But she tells him that they are never informed about air marshals, once again asking him to return to his seat. Instead, he sits next to Joe and asks if he is the air marshal, but Joe reminds him that he's just a pilot. Justin then sneaks closer to two Russian citizens, trying to find more information about them, but one of the bags falls and wakes one of them up. Thinking he's Igor Orlov, Justin tells him that maybe someone is trying to kill him, but it turns out they're just fans of the Russian Premier League. As panic erupts, Justin tries to explain that someone is going to kill Igor Orlov, and the real Igor hears this and stands up to defend himself. Everyone starts recording, and even the pilot is forced to come out and calm the situation. He warns Justin not to cause panic and tells him to return to his seat. As Justin puts his headphones back on, he finds out that the last person directly linked to the events of the flight is himself. A video of him causing the disturbance on the plane was uploaded online just minutes before the plane disappeared. The pilot then pulls Justin aside, saying he's probably having a panic attack. But Justin asks him if, in approximately 14 minutes, he's going to say the words, "Good night, New York." He begs him not to say those words under any circumstances. When the pilot asks why, Justin tells him those are the last words anyone will ever hear from them. Thinking it's a threat, a woman restrains Justin, revealing that she is a US Marshal. She puts him back in his seat and listens to the beginning of the podcast. But she doesn't believe it, saying podcasts can't predict the future. Justin tries to convince her, saying he has plenty of proof and knows exactly what's going on. But she just thinks he's crazy or having some kind of panic attack. While she goes to talk to the pilot, Justin takes back the MP3 player and continues listening. The podcast explains that minutes before its disappearance, the plane was approaching a truly dangerous storm, asking if there was anything that could have been done to prevent the tragedy. Then Joe sits next to Justin and tells him that he believes him. He explains that he's a pilot, he lives in the sky, and right now they're 30,000 feet up, where no human was ever meant to be, so the fact that they're on this plane means anything is possible. Justin thanks him for believing him, saying he knows he's right, and that something terrible is about to happen. Suddenly, Justin gets an idea. Since Joe is a pilot, and the plane is supposed to disappear in just a few minutes, maybe they can change the events, if Joe takes over and lands the plane safely before they vanish. But Joe explains that before every flight, the crew receives a PIN code for the flight deck, and the code is changed every time. But as Justin looks at the MP3 device, it suddenly hits him. The code has to be 1015. Joe then informs Justin that once he gets inside, he will drop the cabin pressure and raise the temperature, putting everyone to sleep so they don't cause panic. He hands Justin a small oxygen tank, telling him to hide it, and that once they take over the plane, Justin can join him inside the cockpit, reassuring him that he's doing the right thing, saving all of those people's lives. Joe gets up and heads to the cockpit, enters the PIN code, and gets inside. He attacks and disables both pilots, taking over the plane with ease. While flight attendants are trying to calm down the passengers, a US Air Marshal attempts to break into the cockpit. Joe then shuts off the oxygen flow, forcing everyone to put on their masks. Seconds later, everyone falls asleep. Justin is the only one still awake. Joe explains that he lost his job as a pilot and that they would never let him fly again. He thanks Justin for helping him take over the plane so he can fly one last time, his final words being, "Good night, New York." In that moment, Justin realizes how badly he's messed up, as the plane now flies toward an unknown destination. Hours later, Justin wakes up on a deserted island, with the plane crashed into the ocean. He sees the MP3 player and quickly puts it back on. The podcast describes the mystery as so bizarre that they thought it would be left for historians to unravel. Rescuers spent months after the plane's disappearance, hoping to find signs of survivors, but to no avail. Until a cargo ship happened upon a massive island. Incredibly, every passenger from Flight 1015 had survived, except one. None of the survivors could explain it, but Justin Sanderson was missing, his whereabouts unknown to this day. Suddenly, he sees all the passengers walking toward him, anger on their faces, as he tries to explain that he was only trying to save them. They blame him for everything, saying he caused this, and begin beating him, everyone kicking him without mercy. In his final moments, Justin makes the case that he did everything he could to avert disaster. But in the end, he was an investigative reporter unwilling to investigate himself, until it was too late. Justin discovers that the path to hell is paved with good intentions, and that's where the film ends. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video. Thanks for watching.